I am the nature hacker, and this is your world. So I have completed my task to create what's known as the Battium, Battium, Battium. And it is a battery that runs on aluminum foil. So how you recharge as a battery is you replace the aluminum foil. It will run for at least a day. And etc. And basically what it does, it runs at 1.4 volts per cell. And so 1.4 volts and 10 milliamps per square inch. Okay, 10 milliamps per square inch and 1.4 volts per cell. So it's pretty simple. All you do is you take a piece of paper. I'm using drawing paper or watercolor paper. You paint one side of the paper with a conductive ink, and the conductive ink I'm using is a graphite, micronized graphite, sodium silicate as the binder, and then just water to dilute it into a spreadable paint. So you paint one side of the paper, then you soak the paper in electrolyte, and electrolyte in this case has to be alcohol based because the silicate paint, sodium silicate graphite paint, is water soluble, so you need an alcohol electrolyte. So that is just simply Everclear 95% ethanol mixed with sodium hydroxide. And I didn't measure it. What I did is I just, however much sodium hydroxide would dissolve in the ethanol at like room temperature is what I use. Okay, it's not really critical, the percentages. Cutting in here, just as a side note, you can also mix tin and zinc oxide in with that electrolyte, and it will help prevent corrosion of, slow down corrosion of the anode, which is the aluminum foil. But another way to slow corrosion is just to dilute it with more ethanol, So either you can have it very concentrated and add in some tin, dissolve in some tin and zinc oxide, or you could just dilute it with more alcohol so that it doesn't dissolve the aluminum as fast. All right, back to the vid at this point. So graphite sodium silicate paint on one side of the sheet of paper. You soak the paper with this alcohol sodium hydroxide mix. It can be potassium hydroxide, whatever. And then on the other side of the paper, you place a sheet of aluminum. Okay, that's it. You have paint on a piece of paper, and it's soaked with electrolyte, and on the other side you have a piece of aluminum foil, and that is your battery. Okay, it's called like aluminum air battery or whatever stupid term. It doesn't really use air. Air is just a misnomer, but it's a aluminum air type battery. All right, so we've got that. Now, how do you increase the voltage? It's 1.4 volts roughly. You can add some hydrogen peroxide to the ethanol if that actually dissolves, and you'll get up to like 1.6 volts. But what you really need to do is stack those layers. So that layer is just millimeters thick, right? And then what you do is, so you have paint, paper, aluminum foil, and then under that aluminum foil, you put another paint paper stacked under the aluminum foil, paint paper, aluminum foil, paint paper, aluminum foil. So the painted side of the paper is always touching aluminum foil. Does that make sense? And the bottom of the paper is always touching aluminum foil too. So it's just paint paper, aluminum foil, paint paper, aluminum foil, paint paper, aluminum foil. However many layers you want. If you want a 12 volt battery, put 10, 12 layers, whatever. So that's it. And I also have a design for actually making a large surface area version of this, and I'm not going to tell you about it right now because I'm going to wait until I totally, nail it in, and then I'll tell you the higher level design. So that's basically it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some clips of the stuff that I use, and I'm going to annotate that. So thanks for watching, and I hope you watch through that and you can understand how to make a Battium. Thanks again. Alright, so this is a movie of the battery. So it's just a piece of aluminum foil, as you can see, stuck on to this piece of paper. And the electrolyte is soaked into the paper. And on the other side is just a sheet of the paint. So that's just the paint right there. So we have, the paint on one side, we have the aluminum foil on the other side, stuck on with the electrolyte. And the electrolyte's just soaked into the paper. I just had a dropper bottle, I just dropped the electrolyte on. So that is your full battery right there. The black side is your cathode, that's the positive side, and the aluminum foil is your anode, that's the negative side. So the aluminum foil dissolves from the electrolyte, and as it dissolves, it releases electrons. And the carbon does not dissolve, so that's why that paint stays right there. So this is the sodium silicate solution I made. It's just diatomaceous earth dissolved in sodium hydroxide. So I'll give you a recipe for that, but it's just pretty basic, just diatomaceous earth dissolved in sodium hydroxide. And then I filtered it through a filter funnel, and then collected the stuff, and then just evaporated it till it was like a syrup. It was foaming. This is the electrolyte. It's just Everclear, 95% alcohol mixed with sodium hydroxide, and I just put it in that bottle for easier use and for storage. But but I just dropped that onto the paper, and that's what the aluminum foil was stuck to that paper with. It's just that stuff right there. So that's the sodium hydroxide, and I just took alcohol, just poured some sodium hydroxide, and however much sodium hydroxide dissolved basically at room temperature is what that is. So I mean, it's not critical, the concentration. So that's basically it. I mean, you can just keep stacking these. I mean, on the other side of that aluminum foil, well, so basically on the other side of this, on that paint, you can put another piece of aluminum foil on top of that paint there, and then put an aluminum foil on top of the paint, and you can put another sheet of paper, with electrolyte on top of that, and you just keep stacking them just like that over and over again. So that's pretty much it. So that is the battery right there. Pretty much it. I mean, I kind of went through that pretty fast, but you can just keep rewinding, watching that video, and seeing how to do it. And if it doesn't make sense, you had to stack it. I mean, literally on top of the paint layer, stick another piece of aluminum foil, then stick another paper, with the paper side touching the aluminum foil and the paint side up. Stick another piece of aluminum foil on the paint side, blah blah blah. You just keep stacking it up and up. So it should be pretty easy, straightforward to stack. So that's basically it. You got sodium hydroxide and alcohol as the electrolyte, and we're using alcohol so it doesn't dissolve the sodium silicate based paint. And so for the graphite to use, I mean, just use micronized graphite, either 5 to 15 micrometers. And that's it. I mean, you can add some extra graphene if you want in it to maybe get a little boost, but I mean, you can't just use graphene, because graphene is so small that the particles don't touch each other. They just stay suspended, so it's not a good conductor. Just a graphene paint is not a good conductor. You need those big particles so that they're literally touching each other in there. So I mean, if you want to add graphene into that, maybe the graphene will fill in the spaces a little bit more. So yeah, that is the possibility, but you don't want to make it pure graphene. So all it was I'm gonna say I'm gonna say 30% by weight. Well, let's put it this way: 30% weight of graphite powder, 70% weight sodium silicate, that concentrated sodium silicate that you saw. It was like a syrup, right? Because I boiled it down. It had like a film over the top. So concentrated sodium silicate, 70% weight, 30% weight, and it might be, let's do 60-40. Let's do 40% weight graphite, 60% sodium silicate, and then enough water to make it, paintable and stuff. And then when you paint the paper, you're going to have to paint it 3 times, but you have to let it dry between each time. You're going to paint it once, okay, in a pretty thin layer. You're going to get roughly 1 kiloohm of resistance, okay? That's not horrible, but it's not good. I mean, with 1 kiloohm resistance, we're not going to get the amperage we need, okay? So you're going to paint it once, all right? Now, what you're going to do is you're going to let it fully dry. Like literally fully dry. It's going to take like a long time, hours and hours, okay, to dry. You're just going to have to wait. Or if you have a heat gun, you can heat it up. But if you heat it too fast, it will start bubbling and you will lose all of your great conductivity. So, you know, just do it how you need to do it, but make sure that it's dry. And okay, then paint another layer. Do the same thing, dry it. Then paint another layer, dry it. So this process of painting could take a few days if you know, are in a moist environment and you don't have a heat gun or whatever. Okay, so you're going to paint the paper, right? And then at the end, the resistance is going to be roughly 200 ohms. Okay, so you went from 1 kilo ohm, which is 1,000 ohms, to 200 ohms, and now you're good. That's as good as you need it to be. Now now you have the paper painted. Now all you do, turn the paper upside down, add your electrolyte, which is, you know, sodium hydroxide dissolved in ethanol. Just however much will dissolve, doesn't matter. You could do less than that too. I mean, you can make it more dilute. You know, more ethanol, less sodium hydroxide, so it doesn't dissolve your aluminum so fast, okay? But, so you're going to put the electrolyte on the bottom side of that paper, and then you're going to slap on your piece of aluminum foil. You know, I'm going to use heavy-duty aluminum foil, whatever. And that's it. And then you could just keep stacking that. You know, just make another one of those and just stack it right on top of the other one. You know, just do that. And that's in series, you know, so you'll boost up your voltage. So that is pretty much it. Totally works. And, you know, the sodium silicate is flexible enough to roll it up, you know, so it's not going to fold, bend in half. I don't have any with me right now, but but it will roll. You know, it will roll, especially if you kind of get it a little wet with the, you know, the electrolyte, and then if you want to roll it up, you can roll it up. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, let me know. This will work. This is called the Battium, Battium, after battery combined with aluminum. It runs off of aluminum. Replace the aluminum when the battery dies, and you are off and running. I am the Nature Hacker. Do work.